everybody. Welcome again to Transgurus. Please don't forget to have a look at us at YouTube, Transgurus, and Facebook, Transgurus as well. Today, we are just three of us. So it's going to be a little bit more cozy, I hope. But we would like to talk about someone which is one of our gurus, which had an incredible life. Someone which suffered a hell of a lot, and someone which we love very much. And the theme goes under trans health, but more specific about something that Raj is unique to know about, and that is black market booty pumping. You want me to repeat that again?
Yes, black market
booty pumping. Okay?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Raj, you go ahead. Tell us what it is about.
Black market booty pumping. Oh my God. Hey, if you don't laugh, you cry, right? So many of you may know my story of my black market injections that I went to have, and the reaction in my face was just horrific. I ended up walking around for many years with a disfigured face. I had the injections in my face, in my breast, and in my hips and buttocks. That's why we call it black market booty pumping. This sort of thing is, well, I would hope that it's not as prevalent as it used to be, but at one time, this was something that was very common in the transgender community for trans women. And it was so common that it almost was like a rite of passage. And so, yeah.
I think we all remember about the silicone parties, which were done in many, many, many places. God knows what in those silicone syringes were, but this was really terrible.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think there's a number of things that play into it. First of all, I was gender non-conforming when gender non-conforming wasn't the in thing to be. I mean, I laugh now when I hear about gender non-conforming because I was doing that like in the 80s, with being androgynous or unisex. And so in those days, it was really, really not a welcome thing society-wise because people wanted to be able to like label things. He's black, she's white. That's a girl, that's a boy, and the gray, anytime it was like a gray area, a lot of people were very uncomfortable with it. So as I transitioned, what I found is that the more I looked the part, like the more I transitioned into womanhood as a trans woman, and the more I looked feminine and more like a woman, I tended to be safer because people weren't like, I wasn't like that man in a dress that people were wanting to throw bottles at and, attack me verbally and physically. So I think one of the things is safety. It was a safety issue for us trans women and even if you know that I'm a trans woman, it was like, I even noticed that even though a lot of people knew I was trans, but because I was like voluptuous and looking, very more womanly and feminine, it was more acceptable on some levels, And then secondly, wanting to fit in. I would go out and I was already living as a trans woman and I'd see these other trans women with these ba-ba-ba-boom bodies and their faces looking so feminine. And meanwhile, I'm not doing that. I hadn't even thought about going for any sort of black market injections. And so it was almost like a peer pressure thing because I had a few of my girlfriends say to me, girl, like, are you taking this seriously? When are you going to go get pumped? You know, it was that sort of thing. So the peer pressure. And I think because the black market road was an easier road in the sense of it was affordable for a lot of trans women that were rubbing two nickels together to survive. You could afford to go get that done, as opposed to going to a certified plastic surgeon and paying thousands and thousands of dollars. And it was instantaneous. You saw the results right away. So there were a number of things that went into it. And long story short, I ended up going down that road. Initially, I looked great. My face was beautiful. I remember I started with my face because I thought that's the first thing people see when you go out is your face. And then I worked my way down. And so I remember going to get my face pumped and walking, and the first time I did it, and walking into her bathroom. And, you know, because black market, honey, you're usually in someone's apartment or someone's hotel room. So I walked into her bathroom and I looked, and it was like instant femininity. Like, you know, it was like, boom, you know. And so initially I was fine. And about a year and a half down the road is when I had the horrible reaction.
It took a year and a half, right?
Took about a year and a half.
What kind of reaction did you get?
Well, what happened was one day I woke up and my entire face was throbbing, and it almost felt like a boil, a huge boil, or cyst. And I felt the pain because it was hurting, and I jumped up out of bed and I went to my mirror and I looked, and I had that sinking feeling in my gut. I was like, oh shit, something is wrong. And my hand started to sweat. And you know that feeling when you know, like, oh, you fucked up and now you're gonna pay the price. And so as the day went on, it got worse. And by the evening time, I was kind of pressing around on my face, and all of a sudden, my one side of my face just exploded into the mirror. It was like blood and pus, green and yellow, and just nasty, you know. But I thought that was the end of the problem. I thought, well, whatever's wrong with me came out of me, so I'm good. But that was just the beginning of, you know, a horrific time with, oh my God, you know, walking around with a disfigured face. And as a trans woman, it's hard enough being trans, but then try being trans walking around with a disfigured face. And the attitude people have is, well, you did it to yourself. You know, that was the attitude people have. And so also many years of medical treatment. And I'll tell you, I didn't go to get help for about another year and a half after that happened. And as the time went on, the nodules started to form all over my face. And, you know, the doctor did tell me down the road that it was a good thing that my face burst, because if that stuff had gone into my blood system instead of coming out, it probably would have killed me. I would have gone septic. So that was a blessing, you know. I think, and you all can tell me if you agree, I think that for trans women, it's this pressure to meet up to a certain beauty standard.
Of course,
and you know what I mean? And I think with cisgendered women too, but I think with us even more.
Absolutely. We've got a very good example on the team, which is Lauren. Lauren, she looks so beautiful and so feminine, but in her mind, it's not good enough. So she had to make her facial feminization surgery, which, by the way, we have not seen yet the final results, but it will come out soon. But, you know, it's always a question of money. And I do believe that, you know, down back then, and don't forget, a very large part of trans women, they are financially very, very, very hard. It's hard for them. And they don't have the money to pay $100,000, because that's if you put all the surgeries together, SRS, facial sedation surgery, boobs, everything. Some people will get to $100,000, I mean, you just think of electrolysis. Electrolysis is very expensive.
That's why today people are lucky because they can go work at Starbucks, or there's a Target, and there's a couple other ones that'll pay for things to do with that years ago Raji in my time wasn't around. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. You're so right, Bonnie. I mean, thank God there are some people and some companies who really support the transgender community, because like Starbucks, that pay with their health insurance, they pay all surgeries,
Yeah, and even some states, like the state of New York, I heard they're excellent with trans people.
No, I'm going to move to New York. I was born there.
All the benefits, that are offered through the state. But yeah, I think it's that pressure. And I noticed for a lot of us, it's never enough. It gets to a point where, you want more. Like you get that booty that you want, and you look in the mirror and you're like, it could be a little bigger. The breast, the breast. Because I think what it is, we trans women, we don't take our femininity for granted. We're constantly nurturing our femininity. And I've had guys tell me that. They're like, I'll ask them like, well, what's the difference between a trans woman and a cis woman to you? And they'll say a few things, but one of the things they say is you all keep yourself together. Like it seems like the cisgender women, they kind of just take their femininity for granted. And I think it's because, and not all, I'm speaking in general. I'm speaking in general, but I'm saying with us, I notice it's about like, nurturing and trying to bring it out and like living up to that thing. And for trans women, we have a harder transition than trans men. Usually, yeah.
I think we can say it is easier to be born as a woman than to become one,
Oh my God. And there's a saying in the medical community, it's easier to make, No, in that case, it's easier for us. I was going to say it's easier to make a hole than a pole, but that's the only area. Otherwise, we have a hard time because once that testosterone hits, oh my God, testosterone is a strong hormone, honey. And to try to reverse it,
it's terrible.
So that's why you see trans men, they start taking tea, and like in a matter of months, they're like these cute, fine men walking around, like, I call them pretty boys, they're like handsome, but they're like, like the Papi Chulo type,
It's true. Yeah. No, but I think that it is really great that today things have changed. And I hope that, in many countries, medical and health is a little bit easier as in the United States, because in the United States, all the health is private. So most of the people which have actually got health insurance, they are the people which work or have got a normal job, which many of the transgender women actually have got difficulties to get. But luckily, right now there is a whole list of transgender-friendly companies which take us. Because let's put it this way, there are some really very intelligent transgender people, and they deserve to be supported. Amen. Yes, thank God. Even astrophysicists and incredible people.
Yeah.
And even the richest people. Richest and poorest. We are a community like everybody else. There's poor, rich, everything.
Yeah.
Right, left, top, bottom, everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we're a very diverse community.
Very diverse.
I want to ask you to something. Okay, and this is what I've kind of noticed. You can tell me if my view is a little skewed. Okay, so this was very prevalent in our community, the black market pumping. And one of the reasons why I went so public with my story is I felt like if I could take something that was bad that happened to me and try to use it in my activism, in my advocacy, to educate the world about this sort of thing so the same thing wouldn't happen to anyone else, you know, then I made my message and I did something good with a bad thing. So what I've noticed, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, since like stories like mine have come out, because I'm not the only one, but I would say probably I'm one of the most known ones, but do you notice that it's the pumping, the black market injection thing has kind of like decreased a bit in our community?
I think so, quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I
I'll
still
say something
hear,
here. I think it depends where you are, who you know, and who you're hanging with. Just like you were in a situation where you found somebody that supplied it, and I'll guarantee you, if there's somebody around that can do it, there's a lot of girls that are going to jump on board because they'd rather look more feminine now and pass better, and they don't care about the consequences. It's irrelevant. And so to say that it's not as prevalent, it might possibly be just you're not. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were in a different town, a different place, who knows? It might be running rampant just like it was here.
Yeah.
Be-
Yeah.
You know, that desire to change, that desire to pass, that desire to look good, and when you don't have the money,
absolutely.
you're gonna do whatever it takes. But I did want to say to you, Raj, is that that's why we all love you so much. I mean, you've got a heart of gold that you want to share, and you want to help people, and you want to keep people from going down bad roads. That's total respect. I mean, respect is earned,
Yeah.
and you've earned it over and over. And I praise you for what you've done. I mean, it's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying
and you're a
that,
big activist.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, whenever I hear something like what you two just said, I get messages from people all around the world. And it really, like, it just brings so much joy to my heart when I get a message from someone that says, you know, I was thinking about going to get black market injections, and after hearing your story, I decided not to. Or whatever, or so many different types of messages, or hearing your story has inspired me, you know, to get through what I'm going through in my life. And so it's just such a blessing to me. And it's amazing how the very thing that you think will be your demise can end up being a platform, can end up being and leading to so many blessings. And so there was a time where I didn't think it would. And there was a time where I was holding on for dear life. I didn't know if I was going to be here or not, you know, just on so many different levels, physically, mentally, spiritually. And, you know, but Bonnie, what you said is true. Maybe there are areas where it's still prevalent. And that thing of like rolling the dice, because I think that's what a lot of us did. We just rolled the dice because the desire in us was so strong to, you know, to be who you are, live your authentic truth. I don't know, but I just hope that, you know, if any younger trans girls that are just coming out are watching, that they'll think twice. The thing about it is there's girls that get it done and they're fine. There are cases where they're okay, but then there's ones that have died from it. And then there's people like me who have had to deal with a lot of medical issues from it. And let me tell you, even though I made it to botch, they called me and I went on and I was blessed to have surgery, corrective surgery and all. It's still, to this day, I still deal with issues. I get my flare-ups because they weren't able to get all of it out. I get now my buttocks is starting to bother me. On some days I'm in pain. I have to lay down because, you know, it's like these painful spasms. And I know it's from the injections, you know. So I'm, you know, hey, yeah, you can roll the dice and maybe you'll be lucky and everything will be fine. But then, like I said, it could be the other way around. And so my prayer is that at least you'll think twice, maybe twice, 3 times before you do something like that.
Which brings me actually to a very important point as well, if I may say, because, you know, we're talking about the black market. Yeah, I do believe that there is still a little bit of the black market going on, mainly in very poor countries and with poor people. But, you know, there's sometimes doctors which are not very good either. And we have a very good case of someone we know very well that had a very good doctor here in Miami, or a very well-known doctor here in Miami.
Yeah, quote unquote good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he did things which were not good for her too. And she's still suffering from it too, you know. So you have to be really very careful where you choose and where you go to make even with, you know, the normal surgeries, because you just can't go to the first one.
Yeah. Do your research. Do your research.
It's so important. Look at the people which are behind. Go and see them. Do you trust them? Do you feel comfortable with them? When I did my boobs some years ago,
those sexy boobs.
I actually contacted 5 different doctors. One of them was probably the cheapest one. I was feeling really bad with this person because he looked very unprofessional. Very unprofessional. And I ended up probably not the most expensive one, but one which I really felt comfortable with. And I said, yeah, I can trust this person to touch my body. And, you know, he showed me what he's done before. I had reference from him. Ask those things. Make your research. Don't go to the first person that you see.
Today, there's reviews, there's the internet, there's so many different ways that you can check on things where we didn't used to have that. And by the way, mine are all natural.
Oh, you go, Bon. Shake those tits. My Bon. You know, I tell you, it's just such a pleasure to be in the company of trans women like you two. You know, I feel like we're having our, like, you know, girl talk, and you know, you all bring such knowledge and experience to the table. And I just, you know, Ella, you're so worldly, and, you know, with your businesses and everything. And I'm sorry.
Hug.
No, I just admire both of you. Bonnie, you know, you've had businesses and the things that you've done. Amazing. And the determination. I mean, I feel honored to sit at the table with you two. And I get so emotional sometimes, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a crybaby, but I just speak from my heart, and it just brings so much joy, because there was a time where, as a trans person, I thought, I didn't even think I had a place in this world. And then to, like, live my life and get to this moment in my life where I meet other trans women that certainly have their place in the world. And you know, and it affirms for me that we are here. We are all here for a divine purpose. We all are. And we're touching each other in so many different wonderful ways.
And we feel the same way about you, Raj.
Thank you.
Same, yeah. I have to tell you that, I mean, I feel privileged to be a trans woman. I feel privileged because I suffered a lot while I was not a trans woman, while I was living in my previous self and my dead person. And I feel privileged that I actually found myself and I know what I am now. And I really feel, because we are actually quite an interesting community. But you know, to transition, it is not easy. You go through a hell of a lot of hardship. You go through a hell of a lot of pain. So please, whatever you are looking at this video, whoever is, please think about that we are wonderful people.
The easy road is not always the best road. And sometimes you have to work for something, and if you really want it. And nowadays, there's Starbucks and other places. Back in Raj's time and my time, there was nobody. I mean, doctors wouldn't, I was thrown out of doctor's office for 1990. They wouldn't even give me hormones, and they found out I was trans. They said, get out of my office. In 1991, I went to another doctor, and when he found out I was trans, he took my money, of course, but they threw me out because they didn't want to deal with me, maybe because they thought I might have had AIDS or something, who knows. But the reality of it is, today, time you walk in, I'm trans, oh, yeah, good, you know, it's like, but back then, it was like, you know, stay away. It was like you were Count Dracula or something, and you're gonna suck your blood. I mean, and so anything in life that's worth having is worth working for, and find the best ways. Do your reviews, do your homework, and as much as you want stuff. I mean, you know, like a lot of the stuff for the face, they have face yoga, they have exercises that you can do. Not that I did that, but I mean, they do have that. And basically, you know, life is all about how you perceive it. And I know when you want something so bad, we know a couple people, like Ella and myself are helping a few people out now that are transitioning, and they're married, and they're breaking up, and they have kids, and they're going through all this emotional turmoil and everything. And it's like, but that's part of the journey, and life just isn't simple. And if you realize that you have to go through all this, well, then it's not as bad, because it's not like I've been singled out, the universe is after me, people hate me, it's everything is wrong because I'm trans. That isn't necessarily the case anymore. Whereas years ago, you know, more so. But today, it's you're still going to go through stuff, and it's just because society. And if you don't think there's prejudices, I mean, there's prejudice right now with all the blacks and Black Lives Matters, and you got the prejudice amongst different nationalities in the country, the Iraqis, and all these people have, and then there's people that don't like fat people, and people don't like short people, and people don't, I mean,
where does it
on
end?
and on and on.
Where does it end? Exactly.
Well, it doesn't. So with that said, you do the best you can, and if you fit the category and you don't get too much slack, you're lucky.
Yeah, well, you know, I just want to say this too. I want to, you know, I've had like a few people call me and comment about like them noticing like the nodules flaring up, and what am I going to do? And am I going to have more surgery and this and that and the other? And who knows if I will have to, but I think I'm at a place in my life where I've been able to find some sort of solace and peace. I've been through so much, and when I look at old pictures to where I am now, oh, so what? I have a few little nodules that flare up. I mean, I've come a long way.
Oh,
and,
yes.
I don't know.
I saw the photograph of you today in Facebook. I was jealous. Come on.
Yeah, I always say it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing makeup and a great lighting cannot fix, okay? But, you know, like even with my breasts, I had people that asked me like, girl, are you gonna fix those? What are you gonna do? I don't know. At this point, I don't even know if I have the strength to. And Dr. DeBro from the show, Botched, when I asked him about it, he thought it wasn't a good idea. He said, I should probably just leave them be. He used the expression, leave a sleeping dog lie, because he's worried that going in might
Those worst, yeah.
Yeah. So I say all of that to say, you know, where does it end? And I think for everyone, we have our goals as trans people, how we want to look, but there'll come a point in every one of us, our journeys, that you'll have to find peace with yourself. Because really, when it's all said and done, like, this body is temporary anyway. Isn't what's really important, and I know I sound cliche right now, but isn't really what's important what's inside? And so I've tried to come to peace with that, and, you know, just do the best I can. And I'll close with this. I don't know how much longer we have, but I also wanted to say this. All that I've been through, all the struggle, all the discrimination, all the beat downs, all of the hardship, everything that I've been through has been worth it, because I refuse to live in a social prison. I had to be who I was. Even if it meant me suffering and going down the bumpy, rough road, I had to live my authentic truth. There was nothing else I could do. And so, you know, I'm free. I'm free because I'm living and being my authentic self.
I had my hair done, and the lady that was doing my hair, she said to me, well, you know, it's a choice you made. And I said to her, no, you got it wrong. I didn't really have a choice. It was either, you know, cash it in or make a change. It wasn't like I could sit there and say, oh, well, you know, I like life the way it is. I'll just stay this way. It doesn't work that way. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
Last longer than others. Some people are done younger. And nowadays, because people know a lot more, people are catching it younger and not having to go through all the testosterone and or the estrogen, the body development, and then having to have breasts removed or having, you know, on and on and on. What I'm saying is the earlier you catch it, the better, but it doesn't really matter when the time is right in life is when the time is right. Just like you said, everything you went through, if it wasn't because of everything you went through, you wouldn't be the person you are today.
Amen. Amen.
The closing, I totally agree with you, Bonnie. It's not a choice. Absolutely not a choice. If you are transgender, you know that it is not a choice.
Even when I tried to be a boy, I couldn't do it. I tried to be, and people saw right through me. It's like,
oh, absolutely.
They see you. They see it. They see it.
Same here. Same
so
here.
Why the fuck live anything else but your truth? Because people are going to talk shit anyway.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
I mean, they saw it when I was 4 years old. I was already being called faggot. So come on,
sure.
You know, and sissy. So it is in us, and people think we choose it. No, what we do is we choose to be real about it and honest about it.
Absolutely, to be ourselves.
Yeah, we choose to be ourselves.
Okay, hey, I think that we had a very nice session today. I think that it was very lively. I thank you, everybody, for listening to Transgurus, and please go to our sites in YouTube and in Facebook. And thanks a lot for everything. And with those words,